Nattgängaren på Bifrost med Odin selv.
Hello, all you wonderful Rise of Kingdoms players out there. This is Dragothien here. Today we're going to be talking about Ragnar Lodbrok. We're going to be doing a mastery, pairing, talent build guide here. We're going to be going through the skills. We're going to be going through the talent build. We're going to be going through the pairings. We're going to be going through what exactly he's all about. And then we're going to summarize at the very end. Is he worth maxing? Is he worth going after in general? Or is he worth a pass? Okay, so first let's jump into the actual skills. Let's break them down. Let's also, understanding the game and how it works, figure out how these skills play together with the rest of the commanders that are out there, and then the gameplay itself. So first of all, first skill, Power of the King, 1000 rage requirement. Again, standard rage requirement. Troops led by this commander deal 10% up to 30% increased damage and take 15% up to 15% reduced damage for 4 seconds. Now, the 4 seconds is a big deal, guys. It's a lot bigger deal than maybe it seems at face value. The reason 4 seconds is a big deal is because in order for Ragnar to be a secondary commander and have this buff apply to the primary commander, you have to be using the the skill or the support tree when it comes to your primary commander, and hopefully be using Feral Nature on the support tree or have some kind of a rage generation buff somewhere in there, okay? Because as a secondary commander coming back around to the first commander for their primary skill to fire off, it's usually about 4 seconds on the dot. If you're using a defensive commander, an attack-based commander, anything like that, certainly mobility-based commander, this will not apply to those commanders because there's just not enough rage generation for you to come back around after Ragnar fires his skill off. Okay, so big deal, something to think about. And really, when you're talking about these buffs here, you want them to apply to another commander because Ragnar does not have any skill damage. So when you're talking about increasing damage here, troops led by this commander deal 30% increased damage. It says troops, guys, but it actually is a damage bonus to all damages. I have reports using Ragnar Maxed that showcase that very thing. Also, again, the damage taken reduction, always beneficial. You don't need to have it necessarily run up to another commander, but still very strong. But the damage bonus is what you're trying to use for both commanders. And him being a leadership, conquering, and attack talent commander, you generally don't want to have him being a primary, okay? Second skill, the Raven. Attack is increased by up to 20%. Normal attacks have a 10% chance to reduce the target's healing effects by up to 40%. There's other commanders that have this very thing, guys, but this is stackable because it's a passive skill. So, for instance, you have Ramses, you have Saladin. Those all have heal augmentation or heal block effects. Ramses obviously having the block portion, Saladin having a heal effect reduction, just like Ragnar. This is a big deal. You want to make sure that you can stack this stuff up. So this effect can only trigger once every 5 seconds. It's a 10% chance attack, 10% chance skill. And again, the permanent portion of this skill is the 20% attack bonus, which is generic and available to all troop types. Number 3, you got the Horn's Call. Troops led by this commander deal up to 10% increased damage, but only when you're attacking cities. This means if you're attacking a flag, if you're attacking a stronghold in general, whether it be a fort, a pass, etc., does not work. It has to be a city for this skill to actually do anything for you. I'm generally just not a fan of skills like this because it's very narrow and specific, and when you're rallying a city is not something you do every day, and certainly not something you do during every type of event in this game. So third skill could be beneficial for you if you're rallying a city, but generally if you're rallying a city, you're going to be rallying with, say, something like Attila Takeda, something like that. So this is kind of a wasted skill in my opinion. Fourth skill, troop capacity is increased by up to 10%. When this commander launches a rally, rally troops gain up to 10% increased troop capacity. Now, this is available on other commanders that are leadership based and conquering based, like Mehmed. And when we're talking about troop capacity, right? Troop capacity for the open field is the first portion of this, and that's always beneficial. The second part is becoming more and more necessary because of Heroic Anthem and the way that the fort system works, where the forts are able to house 3 million troops inside of those structures, and the rallies are still very small in comparison. Having these extra capacities to troop rally counts is helpful. It is helpful. I don't necessarily think, again, the lack of the damage that you're doing with a commander like Ragnar, and the lack of defense bonuses and all the things that really make rallies shine in Heroic Anthem is going to be a problem. But also adding in these troop rally capacity bonuses, not bad. I just think that, again, there's better options to go with. So again, this is another skill that, unless you're using it for open field only, is kind of a kind of an skill. Now let's look at the expertise here. It augments the primary active skill, Power of the King. It increases the damage given, or increases the damage bonus from 30% to 40%, which is nice, and then increases the damage reduction that you get from 15% to 20%. So this is really good. I mean, that augments the best skill that this commander has. Ragnar's best skill is his first skill, hands down. And again, the 40% increase to damage is nice. 20% increase reduction to damage is nice. But look at the seconds now. You got 5 seconds available on it instead of just 4. Remember we talked about earlier where you needed to have a skill or support talent build when it comes to the primary on this pairing to actually have a good enough return coming back around to the primary commander for it to actually affect the primary commander. Well, now you've got 5 seconds. If you expertise Ragnar, that unlocks the attack talent trees, things like that. So you can then use this with any commander and count on this damage buff actually applying to the primary commander that you're using with Ragnar as a secondary. Otherwise, again, you're going to have to use Ragnar as a primary, and I think leadership commanders in general are just way underpowered as a primary commander in this game. That's why you don't see too many YSSs floating around. That's why you don't see any other commander except for Trajan really as a primary, and that's because of his bonus to damage and the fact that he gives bonus to mixed troops. You don't see that here on Ragnar, so you're just missing a key component that Trajan offers that Ragnar is not offering. So something to keep in mind. Now let's go ahead and move on to the pairings, and let's go through who's going to be the best pairs for Ragnar if you decide to go ahead and start working on him. So again, with his first skill being his best skill, you want to try and maximize the value of this skill when you're talking about pairing commanders with Ragnar. Ragnar is a universal commander. He does not have a specific troop type. So that kind of opens up the primary commander to be pretty much whatever you want it to be. It could be Ramses. Ramses could be a decent primary commander to Ragnar. He has the heal block. He's got the bonuses to all the archers, which you can go full archer with Ragnar as a secondary and be just fine. I think Saladin primary, Ragnar secondary would be just fine as well. But some of the things that you see on this active skill lend me to believe damage bonuses to all damage types, maybe to look at maybe an Attila. Has a ton of different bonus damage skills here, 30% here for normal attack, 30% for counterattack, attack reduction benefits to help you reduce your damage taken, bonus damages to 50 and 100% on his fourth skill. I mean, there's just tons of attack bonuses and damage bonuses for Attila that might make sense. Have Attila primary and then Ragnar secondary. That wouldn't be too bad of an idea. I did do some testing with that, by the way. You'll see that towards the end of the video before the summary. Another one, again, Artemisia primary. Again, not having a skill or support tree, though. You're going to want to have Ragnar maxed behind Artemisia to help out a little bit, but this would pump out even more damage for Artemisia on the open field, which is very strong. You could also go with a Herald as a primary, although I'm not a huge fan of Herald primary, but he does have infantry and skill as his talent builds. Not too shabby. And again, having Ragnar behind him wouldn't be too bad at all. You could also go XY or Zheng Yu when it comes to the primary. It reduces the rage requirements and again allows that primary skill to be firing off more and more, which will increase your damage more and more. And again, go full cav with Zheng Yu being primary, and you'll get the benefit of the extra open field march capacity. You'll get the benefit of the primary skill from Ragnar, whether he's maxed or whether he's not maxed, because of the skill damage tree and the fact that the rage requirements are a lot lower on Zheng Yu. That's also a possibility. There's tons of other things you can do. Because he's a leadership commander, you can pretty much pair him up with anybody. Guan Yu is another prime example that you can put him as a primary and then Ragnar as a secondary, and make sure you're using the skill tree with Feral Nature, and you'll get that skill damage back around to the beginning there and be just fine. But again, I think he's very underwhelming, and I'll show you why when we get into the actual battle tests for Ragnar being maxed out. And I'll show you what I mean versus some very basic open field commanders that we're going up against. It's pretty underpowering, if you ask me. If you want to have an epic pairing, again, Sun Tzu primary would be perfectly fine. Kusunoki would be perfectly fine. Baybars would be perfectly fine, all primary. You could go like kind of a super troop tank and go Osman primary or Osman secondary. It doesn't matter either way. I kind of like Osman secondary in that regard, just because you can guarantee yourself that damage bonus to affect Osman's skill damage bonuses. You can go Kira primary if you wanted to. And of course, you can throw Diao Chan in there as well if you wanted to. Again, being secondary wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Although, again, those are subpar in my opinion. Again, you're going to want to, maybe even Bjorn would be fine as well. You just want to, you want to try and pair up with a really strong primary commander that has skill damage bonuses and skill damage in general to really take advantage of Ragnar's first skill. Here we have the first of 2 talent builds that I'm going to use for Ragnar. If you decide to have him as primary, again, we've stated multiple times during this mastery guide that you don't want to necessarily have him as primary, and you don't need to get the benefit of his first skill triggering on the other commander, as long as you have either him unmaxed, going with a skill or support tree commander, or maxed. He can be used with pretty much any commander in the game, as long as you get the generic rage requirement stuff that's inside the talent builds to make it come back around in 5 turns after Ragnar fires off his primary skill as a secondary commander. But this is the open field build with skill damage, okay? So what that means is if you're using Ragnar primary and then any commander that has skill damage as secondary, this is the build you want, because we didn't take the skill on the very bottom, Martial Mastery, which increases your damage at the cost of skill damage. So with skill damage, you want to make sure you're not debuffing yourself, so we did not take Martial Mastery. We went all the way to the top right to get Strategic Prowess, which is very strong. You've got the recruiting talent at the top as well in leadership for extra troop capacity. You also have some healing there if in case you decide to pair up with a healing commander, but that's a requirement up to get to Strategic Prowess anyway. And then on the Conquering Tree, we took Buckler Shield as well as Moment of Triumph. Both are very strong. Moment of Triumph giving you extra damage for the first 10% of your troop capacity, and then obviously Buckler Shield reducing the counterattack damage that you take in your army. And then of course we went full attack on to get Effortless. We got Armored Joints, we've got Rage Requirement skill, and then of course we have just all the stats that we can possibly get throughout all the trees, using the talent points as best as possible, really, to get as much as you can with these 3 kind of subpar talent trees. I mean, all 3 of these talent trees are kind of meh in the game right now, because you have such specialized stuff as the infantry cav and archer trees, and then the skill and support trees are very strong compared to these 3. But yeah, so that's what we got for this one. And then also we've got a build that basically, if you decide to partner Ragnar with an Attila or a non-skill damage commander, we supplemented a few points into the health stats on the attack tree and went ahead and grabbed Martial Mastery for the extra normal damage that you can get using that talent. Again, you're not going to hurt yourself if you don't have any skill damage on your commanders, so you definitely want to get Martial Mastery in that case and go ahead and go forward with that. And again, as you can see, both of these trees do not have mixed troops, guys. These are using all one troop type. Again, if you wanted to go mixed troops, you can maybe do a Ragnar YSS or something, in which case YSS will get a bonus to mixed troops. You can maybe supplement Moment of Triumph and Martial Mastery and get Armed and Armored to the Teeth. That's possible as well. That's another variation of the build, but I think these 2 are going to be your main builds. And again, honestly, you really shouldn't be using Ragnar primary, in my opinion. You should be using him as a secondary. Okay, so let's go over to the actual testing that we did using a maxed out Ragnar with a couple combinations that we described earlier on the channel. Oh, it's Until Takeda's just wrecking it. Yeah, it's not even close. Return. This battle report. Oof. That's just bad. It's just really bad.
Okay.
You know what it is? It's Takeda's defense buffs that does it.
Yes, the bundle. The avatar frame.
I mean, XY is doing better, but still looking like it's not quite. And is this really a 40% buff? I don't feel like it is. It's definitely troop damage. Come on. Come on. Do better than that. Yay, I won. But I lost the severely wounded war.
Yeah, but did you win?
Exactly. Alright, battle log. Let me see. Zhengyu casts Warlord's Courage, 3,200 units. That's without buffs. Like, there's no buffs. For the first one. And then the second one has the 40% all damage buff. And it casts for 3749. Technically, it's higher by 500.
Well, but until Takeda... Until reduces attack, doesn't it?
Reduces attack and does have some skill damage reduction, but that's constant.
What is that deep? The attack reduction is not constant, though. When you put that
Let
buff,
me
there's
find
no
one
buff.
that doesn't have. Okay. All right, here we go. So, yeah, I guess it does. It does affect skill damage. So, one where you didn't have a negative 50% attack debuff on me, it was 4,500. But that was turn 19. All right, so let's jump into the summary of Ragnar Lothbrok. Let's see if he's worth getting, if he's worth maxing, what he's used for based off of what we just went through on this mastery guide. My opinion, unlock him, don't max him. He's just not worth it. For everything that you're spending into Ragnar, he really is only worth unlocking the Writer of History bundle and buying that. You're going to be getting 10 gold sculptures, universal sculptures in that way. Otherwise, Ragnar to me is just an underpowered legendary commander. I would basically kind of compare him to Lu Bu. Okay, so and honestly, I mean, if you look at it, when Lu Bu came out with Yao Chan was the better commander that came out, and I think it's kind of the same way here. Bjorn is the better commander that came out, more useful, more versatile than is Ragnar Lothbrok. He doesn't really shine in any particular area. He does have his first skill is really good, guys. His first skill is really good. Increase the damage by up to 40% if you max it out, and reducing your damage taken by up to 20% if you max him out with expertise. But 690 sculptures just to have a really good first skill and all the other skills be kind of meh. I mean, the healing reduction's nice, but this can be done with other commanders that you probably already have maxed out. I just don't see the value for all the sculptures it takes to expertise Ragnar. So I'm going to go ahead and advise not to max him, but definitely get him. Maybe even get his first skill maxed and go 5-5-1-1. 5511 would be perfectly fine, I think, for using Ragnar on the open field. Certainly his last skill, giving you the extra troop capacity, if you can get a few more points into that, that's fine. But I really would not fully invest into Ragnar. You can use him 5115, you can use him 5515. And again, we have the skill reset stuff that just came out not too long ago, and then we have the new event with the Champions of Olympia with the Call of the Flame that comes with the Champions of Olympia, where you can get even more skill resets, so you can possibly maybe even get 5515 on Ragnar, and see if that works out for you. I'm giving it to you like it is. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope it's been helpful. I'll see you guys next time. Cheers. Have a good one, and take care.